there are reports that the Steelers are saying they want both back. This comes from Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports. The quote is, the Steelers have a desire to retain both Russ and Justin Fields, but you have to imagine they're only going to be able to keep one. Now, I pulled several executives about what Russ's next contract will be, and it could be in the high 20s or low 30s. Just right there. I mean, that's a talking point. Without Russ just played last week, it's almost like a blank check type of situation. Because if Russ is putting on 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, or let's not even say he's on average doing that. Let's say it's looking more of like what he did whenever he first started with the Steelers these first couple games. Let's say like 250, 300, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Bro, that's if Dak Prescott's getting $60 million, who am I to argue that Russ wouldn't deserve $60 million? Now, there is some different nuances to each of their scenarios because Russ is 36, just turned 36. Dak Prescott, more in the prime of his career. But let's just be real. Russell Wilson playing like this is flat out better than Dak Prescott, no matter what age each of them are. So I think he would be deserving. Let's get the Dak Prescott contract. Let's just say that's out of the way. That's like out of the picture here. If you look at all the other big-time quarterback contracts, they're in the range of 50, 55 million. Like, that's what these dudes have been getting recently, like a Jared Goff, a Jordan Love. I think didn't Tua get like 52 million? Russ would have a case to get that number. If he continues to play like this, we go on a little bit of a playoff run. Hell, if we win the Super Bowl, then I'm definitely giving Russell Wilson a blank check. So high 20s, low 30s, that seems like a steal to me. I'd be taking that all day, every day if I'm the Steelers. If Russ wants to do that, I think it just goes to show that Russ is really committed to the Steelers and really wants to win Super Bowls, because that would be the type of contract that Brady took in Tampa, because I think Brady was getting like 25 million. Drew Brees with the Saints, he was getting like high 20s, low 30s, something like that. And with those two type of quarterbacks, Brady and Brees, still playing at the caliber that they were, they could have gotten more for sure, but they took something that was more team friendly and enabled the team to build around their quarterbacks and get some really nice pieces in there and have like a solid team. Whereas you know how it is. Like Dak Prescott's the perfect example with the Cowboys and them giving him $60 million. You can't really build as good of a team around a quarterback you're paying 50 plus $60 million. And if it's a guy like Dak Prescott who isn't deserving of that number, it could really cripple your franchise. Whereas I think a guy like Russell Wilson, he's more deserving of a high number like that, based off the play that he's given us right now and based off who Russell Wilson is. The pedigree, the former Super Bowl champion, 9-time Pro, the Hall of Fame caliber guy that he is, plus what he's given us right now, because let's not forget the NFL is about what have you done for me lately. Like, you put all that together, Russ would have a case for sure. Dak Prescott, again, not so much. Like, Dak Prescott's a Baker Mayfield, a Geno Smith caliber guy. Those dudes are getting paid the high 20s, low 30s. And they're not crippling their team. As you can see, the Buccaneers, they're in contention for the NFC South right now, in contention for the playoffs. Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith, they're in contention for the NFC West because they have a good team around them. You're getting, like, average to above average play from these quarterbacks, but you're not paying them franchise quarterback money. So it works. You can make it work for a little bit. My preference is you get an elite guy, because Josh Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, you don't even worry about what you're paying those guys because they elevate the team around them. A Dak Prescott doesn't. That's why you can't be paying him franchise quarterback money. Tua doesn't. That's why you can't be paying him franchise quarterback type of money. A Jordan Love, we see that he's on that type of path. So, all right, that's the interesting part with this here. I mean, that's at least one interesting piece of this. Like, what do we even pay Russ? What is he deserving of? If he's willing to take high 20s or low 30s, I'm jumping for joy. I think that's awesome. I think it says that Russ is really committed to the team. He's really committed to building this thing up around him, and he's not just looking for the most money that he can. Because, I mean, he's got his contracts throughout his career. He's got a couple big-time deals with Seattle. Obviously got the $45 million, the $50 million contract with the Broncos. And now he's at the spot. And if he's legit in what he says on these podcasts, or what he was saying on these podcasts in the offseason, and he's really trying to get Super Bowls. He's all about legacy now on this back half. Then taking some in the high 20s or low 30s, I think would go hand in hand with those statements. But let's say that happens. Let's say Russ goes for high 20s, low 30s. Steelers are thrilled about it. We come to agreement. Russ gets a 2-3 year extension here. What do you do about Fields? If I'm the Steelers, I'm still trying to re-sign Fields because at that number you're paying Russell Wilson, you can afford to pay a high-end backup. So I'm looking to pay Fields like $10 million. And then you have a security blanket in case Russ goes down. He is getting up there in age. And then maybe if Russ's play takes a little bit of a decline, you're looking at Fields and being the future. Fields ain't that old. Fields is like, what, 25, 26? He's not that old. So he could still have a whole second half to his career, almost like a Geno Smith, like a Baker Mayfield, where they catch on to a different franchise and it just works for them. So I'm trying to bring back Fields, and that's the number. I think that's what you're paying a high-end backup, like $10 million, $11 million, $12 million. And based off how we're using Fields right now, I mean, he'll get some usage next year. He'll get some snaps. He'll get his Fields package. And I don't think that's necessarily what Fields is looking for. I could see him even taking a lesser deal to go to another franchise that would actually give him a chance to be the starter, because you come back here in 2025 and we re-sign Russ, you're not going to be the starter come week one. You're not going to be in like a legit competition. There's no way. Your chance for that was this offseason. We see how that played out. Even though you end up starting the season and go 4-2, play 6 games and play just flat out right good football as our quarterback this year, we still went with Russ. So, like, yeah, if we re-sign Russ and Russ is back, you're big time behind the 8 ball. My guess is Fields would take a chance somewhere else to be a starter. But there is something to be said for coming back, sitting another year behind a Hall of Fame quarterback, learning more, being around a good organization. Even if it's just a 1-year deal, there's something to be said for that, as opposed to going to a Raiders, as opposed to going to a Browns or some crappy organization where, yes, you're going to compete to be the starter, but they're not going to put you in a good spot for success. Like, if you go out there, you could be putting out bad tape, you could be putting out bad play, and your career could go on a downward spiral at a much quicker rate, as opposed to coming back to the Steelers and sitting another year and then maybe seeing what the market is in the 2026 offseason. So, like, Fields is in a good spot. He put out good tape. He put out good play, went 4-2. I think a team is going to be willing to take a chance on him and give him a starter's chance. At least there's going to be some type of competition for whatever new team he would decide to go to. But, you know, if you want to come back here, be the backup, get paid double digits, not a bad option either. I don't blame the Steelers for wanting both Russ and Fields back in 2025. No doubt. I think that's a legit report. I think that is a scenario the Steelers should want, both Russ and Fields back. And at that number, high 20s or low 30s, if you're paying Russ that, we'd be able to afford it for sure. But it just comes down to what would Fields want. Would Fields wave the white flag and be willing to say, all right, you know what, I'll be a backup for another year? Or I feel like the competitor in him is going to want to go somewhere else and try to get back a starter's role for sure.